All right, here we are, another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies.
Good morning, boys and girls.
Here we go. We're on episode number 310, and the episode name is Why Scripts Oddly Lose Deals in Creative Real Estate with Extraordinary Results. Should I give it to you again? Why scripts oddly lose deals in creative real estate with extraordinary results. Here's the description. Almost everyone I know does not. What's happening?
Oh, you froze out on me. I lost you for a minute. Keep going, though.
Okay.
You're back.
All right, so here's a description. Almost everyone I know does not like to call sellers and talk to these strangers about creative real estate. The sheer thought of what to say, then the resistance of your proposed offer is like a slow, brutal death to most. In fact, most view this as a not human-like activity and convince themselves they are not the salesman like personality and drift off into the world of virtual assistant to overcome this unliked resistance from sellers. What if I told you within the next 60 minutes how you could actually throw away any and all your scripts, know exactly what to say, how to say it, and make it so you can't wait to make your next call? What do you think would happen what do you think would happen to your future freedom and financial wealth if all of a sudden, oh my God, I got to get my head straight here. What do you think would happen to your future freedom and financial wealth if all of a sudden you handled this fear and hatred for talking to some stranger seller because of this one podcast? In fact, not only will you know exactly what to say and how to structure deals, you will start to enjoy doing creative real estate deals because of your results over the next few days of trying this. Okay, Peter, so are you still there? Because you keep getting fuzzy and then not fuzzy and then you're clean and then you're not fuzzy. So are you still there?
I am now. Yeah, same is happening for me for you. This morning my computer wasn't working at all in the other room. My system was on, so I just shut it down, put it back, and it's totally fine. So I'm not sure why this is happening because I got my zippity-doo-dah fiber speed. So if anyone's having trouble out there seeing Bill or I, let us know now. See, okay, is it Bill or is it me? Come on.
Oh, we're voting.
Voting. Who's listening? Come on. Is it because Bill goes, Pete, what's wrong with you? No, maybe it's you this time.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, we're back. Okay, we're okay for now.
All right, good. So let's just get some housekeeping done. So first of all, in the link, so I'm gonna teach you today on how the easiest way to talk to sellers and how you could get on the phone and actually start doing it. So here's my promise to you. In the link, there's a my calendar, and I put slots in there so that if you find a deal and you want help structuring it, I can help you. So it's a free 45-minute consultation to help you structure a deal if you find something. Like if you're worried about getting on the telephone and finding a deal and not knowing what to do, then there's what you do. You get on a 45-minute consultation with me and I'll help you structure the deal. Also, we live stream this podcast every.
You're going to do that for the listeners? You got time to do all that?
I restricted my schedule a little bit. Yeah, not really, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is also we live stream this Thursday mornings at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to be part of the podcast, you can get on to Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, mostly YouTube, and you can just type in Flipping Houses for Rookies, and in the comment section or in on Facebook, whatever they call it, I think it's the comment section or whatever they call it. You can type a question in, and I actually see it while we're broadcasting, so I can answer your questions. Make sure the questions pertain to the topic we're talking about on the podcast, so we don't get thrown off. Okay, and lastly, please make sure you subscribe to our channel wherever you're watching us or hearing us. Make sure you give us a comment or like us so that other people know whether we're good or bad according to you. Okay, so here we go.
Yep.
How many times have you heard this, Peter the Fourth?
Yes.
It's all about the experience. Huh?
What?
It's all about the experience.
No, that's what my staff used to tell me when they had bad sales one day. And they said, "Oh, we had good PR today." And I said, "That's good PR right now, but it ain't working with me. Go back, sell something."
Today, I'd like to use that same idea, but with a completely different twist on the thought. How about if you did not have to use any creative real estate experience when talking to sellers, but instead use the experience you already have with regard to relationships you already have been having or doing or creating or being part of? In other words, here's what you need experience with, Peter the Fourth.
Mm-hmm.
Being human. Can you be human? Oh, wait a minute. No, that's a trick question.
I can be
that's
human.
a trick question because
I can be human.
I know a lot of people
Bill.
I know a lot of people that can't be human because they would rather stay home in their little dungeon and not talk to anybody and not be involved with other humans. So that's why I say, can you be human? Okay.
Yeah. It's a thing.
Right. Exactly. So would this make the process easier for you, just knowing how to be human when you're talking to a seller? So you could cut down on your long runway of education for doing money now, money monthly, money later, and retiring early type of creative real estate, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
So my question to my listeners right now is your ego and your pride bigger than your checkbook or your retirement account? If it is, then you got to take a look at that. You have to check your ego. You have to maybe humble yourself a little bit, because I promise you the retirement and the money now, the money monthly, and the money later is much more than walking around with a big ego. I could tell you, if you want to practice it, just take your ego and go to the grocery store.
Really?
Or go to Walmart and see what it does, and see what it does for you. Just walk around like you own the place.
Oh.
And see what it does for you.
Yeah.
Okay? It's going to create animosity with others around you. It's definitely not going to help you with relationships, I can tell you that.
You know, it's funny you say that today. I just saw a post from Tom Cruise, your favorite actor.
We'll leave it at that.
No, on his latest movie, Top Gun, over 1 billion sales. And you would think, oh, thanks, everybody. I'm so successful, and it's a great movie. He said something like, here's to all the studios, all the movies, all the actors getting out there and entertaining people. And thanks, everybody, for giving us the privilege of entertaining you. What a viewpoint. Think about that. And he doesn't need to say anything. He just can go home and ride his motorcycle home and just collect money. But he said something nice like that. That's the right attitude. Like, he's not thinking of himself in that moment. He's thinking of the other guys. How gracious.
That's a long way away from jumping on a couch on a talk show.
Yeah. There was some point he was trying to make, but I forget now. But let's not worry about that one. But
I haven't forgot about it.
But just take the example of that. And there's a few people like that. And there's not many, big people who really are big. My father, as a barber, had a lot of big like industrial CEO types guys, senators, governors, CEOs, big names, people with building on names. And I met a few, and the good ones were really very gracious people. They weren't about themselves. So
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents. Think about that. Think about
Yeah.
that.
Makes a lot of sense. All right, let me explain what I'm talking about here. The first thing is this. If you want anyone to say yes to anything, you're in sales. No way around it. I'm sorry. So that means if you want your grandkid to say, yes, I want some pizza, you're in sales.
Yeah.
That means if you want your wife or your husband to say, yes, I'd like to go out Friday night.
Yeah.
I have one right now. I've been literally on a failed close for 7 days. I'm on a failed close right now.
Man.
I'm trying to get my wife to go to a picnic on Sunday afternoon with some of our friends.
Yep.
It's our anniversary that day.
Oh, well, geez, no. Wait a minute. No wonder.
So I'm trying to overcome some heavy resistance, okay?
No, I'm sorry, but I'm saying why right now. Why don't you just go with whatever she's thinking? It's the anniversary.
You got a weekend to do the other
there's
stuff.
A book, Sell and Be Sold, right?
Yeah, by Grant Cardone.
No, and
All
I
right.
said and instead of or. Hey,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to give it a little bit. Then you snag them on the way back.
There you go. All right. After today, you'll learn how to be in sales, but not be a salesman or a salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
Most know if you're viewed as a pushy or aggressive, you're being too salesy.
Yeah.
Right. This type of sale is most commonly referred to as a transactional type sale. This is what most rookies do. They're trying to convince, like change their mind.
Yeah.
The seller's mind to do what they want or know how to do. Convincing and persuading is necessary in every transaction, but not the way you think. So if you think this is all about convincing and persuading and necessary, which is what I've been struggling with, and you know this, actually, we've been struggling with it, but I write a lot of the content that we've been struggling with because people think that if they say what I say, they'll get deals. Right? Well, lately, what I say to get deals doesn't even work. Okay, because the market has changed so much. So we have to keep reinventing ourselves, right?
Yeah, I thought I'm pretty good talking to people, but that's only to be friendly. That isn't successful. So I'm working harder to just really listen and ask more questions. And other things, I had another thing I was selling someone else, just something else. Was other thing I was working on to help someone. And man, I actually worked with somebody to go over some details, and I dug in to find out what was really bothering this person, and it worked really well because I was able to actually help them. But I had to find out really, I swear to God, I went back to him. This person was a child.
Wow.
Yeah. And like a whole family thing. And like, yeah, that's my problem. I can help you with that. And I did, I found some way to, but man, you really have to ask the right questions and find out what the do's and dudettes really want.
There's a little bit more to it. And we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah.
So convincing and persuading is necessary in every transaction, but not the way you think. The reason why is if you are too pushy in convincing or persuading, the seller will go buy what you are selling from someone else that was not so pushy, which leaves them to ghosting you.
Wow. Yeah.
Instead, here's what I do. I use the relationship approach. I have found people do business or like to do business with friends.
Yeah.
Now, this is very difficult to talk about for me because I hear so many people on the phones, over the years. I listen to coaching clients. I've had all different, I can name them. I have them in my head.
Yeah.
And they're acting. They're pretending to be your friend. and they're pretending to like, oh, how are the kids? Oh, how are this? How's the wife doing? All this bullshit stuff.
I've seen those scripts. You go to a seminar and they give you a script. We got one of the last one. Here's questions you can ask people to get in rapport with them. Like, ick.
I was just reading a book not too long ago because I read a lot, obviously, and one of the main questions the rapport builder was, "How you doing today?" And I hate that question. When somebody asks me that question on the other end, I want to just hang up on them, and I do. Sometimes I do. How you doing today? Hey, Bill, how you doing today?
Yeah,
it's like they don't care how I'm doing today. It's fake. It tells me right off the bat that this person is not on. He doesn't care about me.
Well, they're not even listening. I've had people come. I've had people in the house, and I go hello, and they say good. How are you?
Yeah.
After hello, like, because it's like an automatic. They're not even listening. I had a top counselor telling me never ask somebody how they're doing. Because in the first place, they're not going to tell you how they're doing. They're going to say, fine, they're not.
You can't do anything about it.
Right. And if they do say how you're doing, you got an hour conversation to try to help fix the problem. Is that what you're there for?
Yeah.
So she said, don't even bother doing that.
Well, I know, I think I told you this before. I know a chiropractor once that you would shake your hand and say, how you feeling today? But he was a chiropractor.
Yeah, he was going for
He wanted to talk about that, right?
So, Bill, we should say, shake hands like, hey, how's your house today?
So, to your point, I want to tell you a real quick story. To your point, so my wife. God bless her. I love the hell out of her, but
I love your wife too.
She doesn't do things quickly sometimes.
Oh man!
So like when it's time for us to leave, she's got to go to the bathroom. She's got to go here. She's got to do this. She's got to do that. And there's this routine she has to do, right? Which is cool, right?
Yeah.
The other day, I'm in the living room. I'm doing something. I had just come out of my office working, and I'm like, just kind of like, I don't even know what I was wondering what she was doing. Well, she's on the phone with her sister, and her sister just moved into a new place or just got a new rental. She rents a house now out in East Haddam or something like that.
Yeah.
I kid you not, within 5 minutes of that phone conversation, we were in the car going to see the house.
Ooh.
I mean, within 5 minutes, she's like, "Let's go. We got to go before Linda leaves." She was like rushing me around, right?
Wow.
So we get out there. It's like a 45-minute ride. So we get out there, right? And we pull in the driveway, and her sister and her live-in boyfriend are talking to somebody. We don't know who they are. So we walk up, and the lady says, "Hi, my name is, I think, Susan. I'm the landlord." I said, "Hi, my name is Bill Hawthorne. You want to sell this house?"
Oh no! They're just moving in, and you said that out of your mouth, man. What did I teach you?
Just what you were saying. Just what you were saying. Like the doctor, they're like, "You want to sell this house?" And she gives me the story of how it's their mother's house. It's an inherited house. The little brother doesn't want to do it. They're renting it because she needs the money, but they would sell it if they could. So right away, I'm thinking about an owner finance deal because it would have totally fit. So when later on, I pulled my. I guess he's my future brother-in-law. I don't know what to call him. Aside and said, we're going to buy this house. He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, and I told him about owner financing, and he's like, "Oh, really? Yeah." And so I said, "Just let me know and I'll help you."
Nice.
All right. So anyways, the biggest shift I made in my career was to stop worrying about the money and the profits, or as we call it, the deal structuring. I don't worry about the deal structure, right? So, Pete, there you go. Seamus says the streaming is clear. Pete was a bit fuzzy in the beginning of the podcast. So there you go, Peter. Votes are in.
I guess it was early in the morning for me, so it was fuzzy. Okay. Thanks, Seamus. Thanks.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm not worried about the results of the transaction. The reason why is because I know, as well as I sit here, that my game, which should be your game, is volume. I'm not trying to convince somebody of anything, and I'm going to go over that in about 2 minutes of what I am trying to convince them of, but it's not what you think.
Mm-hmm.
You say it all the time. The formula is to find a motivated seller.
Well, you came up with it. And there's a formula that you use. I know but I just repeat it because it's easy to forget.
Right.
You know, but it's find. You got to find the guy.
So the formula, just so you're not a mystery, is find. Let me get it straight here.
Find a motivated seller.
Yeah, find a motivated seller. No, find and communicate to a motivated seller.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then tell them what you do. I buy houses. They have to know that. Mm-hmm. And then 3, find out what's needed and wanted. What's the pain? What's the problem they're trying to solve?
Mm-hmm.
And then present and offer a solution.
Yeah.
And that's the formula. And every transaction I do happens that way.
But every transaction, you go to the restaurant, that's what happens.
Yep.
Hello, what can I'm the waitress. So what can I do for you? Like, I'm hungry. What do you want? Right. I want this. Oh, you can't have that. We actually were, I told this before, we're at a restaurant and they wouldn't give the wife the food the way she wanted. No sauce, please. No, it comes with sauce. I don't want the sauce, please. No, it comes with sauce. We're not going there again. They didn't give us what we wanted. Yep. And that's what happens probably in transactions that people are trying to do. They're trying to give them what they don't want, right?
Transactional. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. A transactional sale is somebody trying to convince the person that's going to buy or use the product or service that they need something different because that's all they have to offer.
So is there a name for what you're describing then?
Yeah, I'm going to go over that in 2 seconds. But
okay,
I want you to know, I want you to understand, I want you to really let this sink in because this is very important to me. Not anybody else, just me.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why there's 7 offer strategy in my system is because of exactly what we're talking about. When you start sitting in a dozen or 15 houses a week, which I don't do anymore, but when I was sitting in 12 to 15 houses a week, and you go 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks and don't buy a house, it starts to really crush you. It stomps on you like the Jolly Green Giant, and you're an ant. You know what I mean? It's like, it's very demoralizing. And you start thinking, what am I doing wrong? And that's all it was, is I didn't have the right offer. So I went on this years of testing and rampage, if you would, with what about this? What about that? What about this? And that's how I came up with the 7 offers. And then I had to train it to an acquisition manager. She's like, how do you know which offer to do when? And that's when I came up with the loan to value ratio. Mm-hmm. And once I got the 2 of those together, it evolved over years, 3, 4, 5 years.
Jeez.
But I have to tell you that's the magic formula of what we do, is that we can give them that we can provide them what's needed and wanted with one of the 7 strategies, instead of just being a one-trick pony show.
Yeah, I'm a wholesaler.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, not today. I'm a wholesaler. Sorry, not today. I'm a wholesaler. Exactly. Sorry, not today. Why doesn't this work?
Yeah.
Sure.
So going back to what I read before, the biggest shift I made in my career was stop worrying about the money and my profits, or as we call it, the deal structuring. Instead, I view the seller as my teammate, okay, or as a friend. This person or prospect I am signing that I'm assigned to by somebody else to help them. Like, suppose for example, you say, Bill, my sister wants to sell her house. Can you go talk to her? Mm-hmm. You're assigning me to go help her.
Sure.
That's how I look at this, right? After all, this person's going to be responsible for paying my bills. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm selling is my friendship. I sell them on me, not my company, my product, or my service, but how I can help them. As Theodore Roosevelt once said, they don't care what you know. They just want to know you care.
Wow, that's a good one. Where'd you get that one? Theodore Roosevelt. Yeah, nice one.
So they don't care what you know. They just want to know you care.
Nice one.
Right? That's the magic. And you have to remember, the other reason the other person on the phone does not know anything about you yet. So they're listening to every little word, noise, and contrary fact that you give them. Every little thing counts, like the dog barking, or a noise, or a radio, or anything. And it doesn't have to be that you don't have that, but you just have to say to them, sorry, I'm at my daughter's house and she's got a dog, but I wanted to call you because I didn't want to miss this opportunity. We want you to miss this opportunity.
Sure.
Now, we don't talk about this very much, but we're going to take a side note here. So you and Sean get the bunt end of this. Sean is my other partner. He's younger, obviously, but you get the bunt end of this. So I, unbeknownst to me half the time, am a little cocky about who I talk to. Because I know when I come to the table and talk real estate, there's nobody better they can have in the room than someone like me or me. Right? Like, you do all this work. You do, Peter Coca-Cola the fourth. Do all this work. He told me that this morning. That's why I keep teasing him about it, because I announced him as the one and the only.
Yeah.
So
there were 6 of us.
Yeah.
I think we're down to 3.
So the point that I'm trying to make is you do all this work to do what? To get me in front of or in the house of a seller.
Yeah.
Because you know that there's so much experience and knowledge there. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just saying that that's what happens.
Sure, it's true.
And then what happens when we get in the house? I'm not talking deal structure the whole time. It's relationship building. It's telling my stories. I once had a buyer that did this. I once had a seller that did that. Well, if we do this, I'm afraid this is going to happen. And if we do that, this might happen. So it's all in the name of, if I was in the seller's shoes, what would I do? I coach that way too. I'll have coaching clients. It just happened the other night in a coaching call. I have a coaching client and said, I don't know about what you're going to do, but here's what I would do if I was you.
Yeah, you do say it that way.
Right? So it's all about that. Okay. By the way, the fastest way to get someone to trust you is to have your words match your actions. Right? Whether with them observing you, like, I'll be there at 2:00.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll go get the tax information and call you back in an hour.
Yep.
Okay. Or, I'm going to talk to my lawyer and see what he says.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you could do it like that's they're observing you, have your words match your actions. You can tell stories, like I've done live stories, and you could, and they don't have to be your stories. They could be my stories. They could be Pete's stories. They could be your grandfather's stories. They could be your lawyer's stories. They could be anybody's stories. The point of a story is they call it a parable. A parable is a story that comes to a point that will help somebody, will enlighten them, or give them some point of view that they didn't have before.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep. Which is what priests and ministers do. They do parables in their sermons, right?
That's the Bible. A lot of stories.
So you could also have relating what you are saying with something they know. One of the biggest ways that we do that is with realtors. Like, if you hire a realtor, this is what's going to happen, right? And they already know that.
Yeah.
So the way you can match your actions with your words so it gives you like authority is to do things like that, is to match all these different things I'm talking about. So you can match your words with your actions by actually doing something, and they can observe it. You can tell them stories. You can relate what you're saying to something they already know. Right? It's kind of like the same thing. Like if there was a McDonald's and a Burger King in your town, where's Wendy's going to go? Right? because if you want a hamburger, you're going to go down to that block. They're all going to be together because you're going to go one place, and then it's up to them. It's up to their relationship with you on which one you choose. Like the last time you were there, you had a great hamburger, you had a great experience with the girl behind the counter, the guy behind the counter. It was quick, whatever. It's all about the relationship. I mean, think about your habits. Your habits are with relationships. You eat in certain places, you go to grocery stores, you go to banks. It's all because of relationships.
Right. And there's places you don't go because for the same reason.
Exactly.
Don't like that place anymore.
All right. So let's move on. The hardest part of any phone conversation with a seller is getting someone's attention quickly.
That's right. No attention, no money.
Right. I do this by using their first name right off the bat. Now, what I've been doing for my coaching clients, and if you go to WhatsApp, if you have WhatsApp on your phone or on your computer, most people use it on their phone. If you don't, you can download WhatsApp Messenger, and the name of the group is Let's Talk Real Estate. And it doesn't cost you anything. You can be in there, and there's a bunch of my herd or my clan or whatever you want to call them is in there, and we all talk deals. I mean, sometimes it's a couple times a day. Sometimes you'll go 4 or 5 days and hear nothing. Right? So it's a group of people. It's not 5 or 10 people. It's like over 100 people in there, right?
But you can put questions in there, and Bill doesn't have to be there. Other people have had experiences, and 2-3 people can answer your questions for you to help you out.
And I answer questions in there, so I mean, it obviously comes on my phone. But here's
I'm only saying that because people don't have to bother you. There's a group, and they can help each other a little bit too. So don't feel you can be bothering Bill with a little question. Throw them in there. Somebody will help you. Him or someone else. Me, someone.
Right. So what I've been doing is the last couple of weeks, and I do this arbitrarily, is my coaching group. I do a couple times a week. I'll do live closing calls. So what I'll do is I'll put the link in the chat because we have WhatsApp groups I have a WhatsApp group for Let's Talk Real Estate, which is the free one. And then I have a group that is Deal Hunting Monthly Mastery, which is $97 a month. And then I have coaching clients. So I've got 3 groups. And usually what I've been doing is I started off with just joining with coaching, and then I opened it up to the deal hunting guys. And then recently I've been allowing the Let's Talk Real Estate guys in there that don't pay me anything or don't pay anybody anything. They're just there for free. And I've been doing these calls. And what I do is I'll give you a Zoom link, and you come on Zoom and you actually mute yourself and you watch me, and we use REI Replay. You watch me in REI Replay hunting around looking for deals, and then I'll pick the phone up and call them. Then what I've been doing recently is I don't do it every day, but if you have a deal, I'll call one of your deals. Now, I don't know what you think, Peter, but to me, that's like, who is doing that?
Well, I think you're crazy.
Oh, why is that?
Well, like a fox. No, seriously, you're getting some work done, and you're letting people take advantage of seeing how you do it. It's not any problem for you. You just have to allow them in, and they're not getting in your way, so they get some benefit from it.
Right. So basically what I'm saying is I practice what I preach. So all this stuff I talk about on the podcast, if you were to get on one of those calls, you could see me do that, hear me do that. And one of the points that I want to make is exactly what we're talking about is I'll use their first name right off the bat. Like the phone will stop ringing and it'll be dead silence, and I'll be yelling, John, is that you, John? I mean, you'll hear me do this. Yeah. Who's this? Right? So the sweetest sound to any human being is hearing their first name. Ever been in a crowd and hear someone call your name? Then realize that it was somebody else they were looking for. It wasn't you, but they had the same name.
Yeah, that's right.
It got your attention, didn't it? All right. So I make sure I'm not one of those guys that use your name 5,000 times. Okay, John,
no,
you understand?
That gets phony. Like, okay, thanks for talking. Hey, Bill, thanks for talking to me today, Bill. Thank you, Bill. No, I hate that. Well, Peter, no.
But I get their attention right off the bat by using their first name. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Pete, is this Pete? Are you the owner of 123 Main Street? Oh, okay. Is it for sale? That's how I start off.
Bill, I can't imagine anybody doing anything else. What do people do otherwise? They just start talking?
I don't know.
God.
Well, I
Well,
do know, but we're not going to talk about it.
geez.
All right. So next, you need to make it about them. And you must sound confident and direct to the seller to where you want them to go.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be confident. What I mean by confident is not in your sales ability or your deal structuring ability or your ability to buy the house. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is building a relationship. You need to sound confident about where you're going with this conversation. You called them. You are in charge. They are waiting for you to say what's next.
Yeah, occasionally they do say, "You called me.
Right.
You asked me to buy my house." Okay.
Right. Which is why scripts were mostly invented. Right. So realize a script is a pre-organized set of words, or it's a set of words that's pre-organized before you say them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a script. Right.
Yeah.
So somebody, either a writer, like in the movies, writers, screenwriters do them.
Yep.
Right. So you ever hear somebody like, the first thing that comes to mind is Big Bang Theory. Penny she's an actress, and they talk about, oh, she got a part. Oh, she only got one line. Right. She got a one-line part. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't watch it, but Friends is another one. They got a one-line part. The actor, the guy's, I forgot his name. But they got a one-line part. My point is that their one line, it has to be said and done exactly the way it's supposed to, because something happened before it and something's going to happen after it. Right?
Yeah, it's got to fit.
Right. So it has to be orchestrated. Right. So that's what scripts are supposed to do, is kind of keep our rookie orchestrated so they can get through all the information they need. Right.
Yeah.
But I found just recently, like I've been studying this for the last year, but the last 6 months intensely, because I'm doing these calls. I'm listening to people. I'm on the phones and I hear people. I'm coaching and I make them call people, and I'm like right in the trenches, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm right in the trenches with all of this stuff. I mean, I don't know of a coach that does what I do, and I'm serious about that. I'm not bragging. It's just my style. I'm very hands-on. I'm very part of it. I'm right there all the time.
Yeah, but Bill, think of the importance of that. So I was saying before, people can get on and watch you make the calls, but that's not even the half of it. By doing the calls, we're finding out how people are doing, in general, because there is, kind of a herd mentality that happens. But then beside the specifics, we're getting a feel for what's happening with folks in the market and their attitudes, because it's a shared opinion.
It's
people
not
share
just
these
it's
opinions.
just not my interpretation of telling you about it on the podcast or in a meeting or on a coaching call. You see it with your own eyes.
Yeah, but it's educational. I mean, how do you sell something without understanding your audience? I'm a musician. We would play original songs live and see what their reaction was. Go back and retune them a little bit, and then go back and play. You have to work with your audience and your customers to understand what to do. And
they're going to pay your bills, so you need to know what they want.
Yeah, and as much as each person's individual, there's still a kind of people talk. They look at Facebook, they read the newspapers, they watch the news. There's a general idea of what should or shouldn't be happening, and people believe that stuff. So they have some of that opinion. You got to find out, and it changes over time. So what you're doing is valuable.
Thank you. So this started with me taking one of my coaching clients, and he wanted to work for us and do calls. So it started then, and I thought it was him at first, but it's the oddest thing in the world to me. It's really the oddest thing in the world to me.
What's that?
When I first started doing this, what I got from feedback was, I love watching you on what you look at before you call the person. And I like to watch you type the notes, like what you're taking for notes when you talk to them, like what is important to you.
Yeah.
Like, so because they can see me talking to the person, and I'm typing in REI Reply, our CRM, customer relationship management tool. I'm typing in there what I want to remember.
Yep.
Right. And it was like, not only was it the phone conversation, but it's all these other things too. Anyways,
Yeah.
so scripts were mostly invented to keep you guided, but I have found that these scripts are a disease and they kill deals.
That's so funny. The pendulum has swung to the left. The pendulum has swung to the right.
Well, because I stopped doing what the herd was doing. I had to rise above the group agreement and say, okay, why aren't we making deals? We should be making a lot of deals. If I have all these coaching clients using these scripts, we should be having a lot of deals here. Why aren't the deals coming in?
Yeah.
Right. So ready for this? Here's the next thing. The reason why scripts don't work is called nexting.
Nexting. Let's hear it.
Nexting is when you start thinking about what to say next and tune out what the seller's saying.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's nexting. So all you're thinking about is the script. So it kills deals because you're not using the script. The script is supposed to be talking points. It's supposed to be engagement. It's supposed to be a guideline of what you need. It's not supposed to be like you got to pronounce every single syllable correctly and be robotic about it.
Well, in sequence too.
In sequence.
Sequence. That was something that was really bothering me when I first started. You helped me with that. Just you can't do it in sequence. You're talking to somebody.
Well, sometimes you can, but like the example of what Peter's talking about is that if you got 10 things, if you have 10 things you have to cover on a call, and you're at number 1 with your script, and they're at number 6 or 7. They're not going to, you're going to lose them because you have to go through the script to get up to 6 or 7. What you need to do is just need to start at 6 or 7 in the script, do 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then come back and do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah. If they bring up something, don't yank them off it. Let them talk.
Right.
Just let but then get back into what needs to be covered, so you cover everything. So
I have an observation of why this is happening, Peter.
Yeah.
Because what happened is with the pandemic, and I explained this last week on the podcast, with the pandemic, we always use out of area owner list. I've lived off of that list for 20 years.
Yeah.
I've hardly used anything else but out of area owner lists. Right. In fact, I went and bought them yesterday. I have the Wallingford one and I'm working on the Meriden one.
Oh, well, gotcha. Yeah, we worked on Berlin and Cromwell yesterday.
Yeah. So here's my point. Is it was not as common as it is now. So what happens now is the pandemic comes along and the FSBOs dried up. The for sale by owners dried up.
Yeah.
And the foreclosures stopped because there was no foreclosures in the pandemic. Right. And probate stopped because the courts were closed.
Yeah.
Right. So the only thing that we had that worked, right, was vacant houses or out of area owners.
Yeah.
So what happened was every Tom, Dick, and Harry investor started figuring out how to do texting and doing phone calls. So now what happens is there's too many people calling the seller.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so when you're doing nexting, they know because they've heard other people like you do it, good or bad. So they're comparing you not only to yourself, but they have others to compare you to, which is what's different nowadays, because before there was not others to compare you to, because they didn't have 10 people a week calling and wanting to know if they want to sell a house and hear their style. Right. So it's harder to stand out nowadays. It's harder to be different nowadays because there's more competition. There's more people competing with the way they do it. So you have to stand out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. All right. So the next thing is, which brings me to the next script killer. So number 1 is nexting, right? Number 2, and this, as far as I'm concerned, there's 2 major points of this podcast. One is you concentrate on the problem, and the second is this, which brings us. The second one is this: too much communication. Too many communicate, but few connect. A lot of people communicate, but they're not connecting.
Yeah.
So if you're nexting, you're not listening and connecting or building a relationship with your teammate. You need to connect with this seller by talking about the problem, not them, but the problem. So they are not the problem. So let's put it this way. I'm talking to you. The problem is you're in foreclosure. I'm not talking about you not paying your bill. What I'm going to talk about is the problem, which is the bank. The bank is going to do this. The bank is going to do that. The bank is going to do this. That's the problem. It's not that you didn't pay. The problem is that the bank is coming after you. You need somebody to help protect you. I will stand in front of your house with my shield and my ammunition and hold them back as long as I can if I do this and if I do that and if I do this. And I'm willing to do that. Right? We're getting ready to launch a foreclosure campaign, and that's one of the things that we were talking about, right? When you're doing a foreclosure list, you can't be talking about buying the house. You have to be talking about how we can help them with foreclosure. Will there be some people you will help and get nothing back? Absolutely. Except karma, because all of a sudden then somebody will give you a deal. Right? So the idea is if you're in the foreclosure business, you need to help them with their foreclosure problems based on what you know. And I got to tell you something, Peter. I've decided this. I've never told this to you. I'm going to tell this to you right now. And I don't have time to do it right now, but I'm going to do this quickly. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm 58 years old. You've known me for 25 years, I believe, maybe longer. Okay? You've seen me do a lot of stuff. A lot of it's pertaining to real estate. You have helped me teach. We have done lectures together. We've done seminars together. We've done lots of things with the church together, which has a lot of that. I mean, I run between 5 and 6 events a week personally with no assistant, all by myself. I run 5 or 6 events a week. This being one of them. This is what I consider an event where I'm talking to people.
Yeah, it's an activity. Yeah, sure.
So here's what I decided at 58 years old, soon to be 59. Here is what I have learned. How to teach someone. I've actually figured out how to teach someone, how to actually give somebody a good education. You ready? You're going to laugh at me, but I figured it out. You're going to laugh at me, and I'm okay if you laugh at me.
I won't laugh in the podcast. I'll laugh later. But no, seriously, what is it?
Find a 5-year-old or 7-year-old or a 10-year-old. I prefer a 10-year-old kid. And explain to them what you're trying to do until they get it. Then once you have explained it to them clearly, then you know it.
Yeah.
You don't really know a topic or a subject until you have to explain it to somebody else or teach it to somebody else.
Yeah.
I know that because I went through it with real estate. How do you think it was in the beginning? I mean, we're on podcast number 310. What do you think the first podcast was like? It sucked. The first 20 podcasts, you couldn't even hear us. It was all static and all this kind of crazy shit.
Crackle.
We were in my basement with a Apple, a 5-year-old Apple computer that we just used the speaker on the Apple on the laptop, right? It was horrible, but we learned how to do it, right? So my point is if you want to learn real estate, then find someone that doesn't know anything about real estate. It doesn't even have to be a 10-year-old, but explain it to one of your kids. Like I want to explain to you how I want to buy your house, and communicate and connect. Learn to connect with your child or with your brother or with your sister or with your grandmother. Try your grandmother. Try somebody that's 80 years old.
Bill, I was going to tell you, as a music teacher, I'm still doing some music lessons. I have 7-year-olds, sometimes 6.5. Oh my God. And then I have 70. I have a retired doctor who, I don't know. I'm glad he's not doing surgery anymore because he can't count to 4. I'm serious. It was scary. It was here yesterday. So yeah, I was going to say like, or somebody really old who doesn't understand.
Point is
Explain
explain to them. So like explain to them what
in
is a subject to
English.
deal. Yeah.
In
Well,
English.
no, do it so that you're connected with them so they understand. And
Yeah.
then when it doesn't work, then you withdraw from it and you say, okay, how can I say it better? Or how can I explain it better? Or what did I miss? Or more importantly, what don't I understand? And then go,
Yeah.
you have to sort it out in your own head because I have 2 coaching clients like this right now where they don't understand the deals themselves and they don't know they don't understand the deals, especially like lease option and options.
Really?
They don't understand that.
Ouch.
They have a major confusion. And so when they explain them, they come up with these most profound, unbelievable, outrageous
Really?
communications. Yeah.
Yipes.
So you need to connect with the seller by talking about the problem, not them, the problem. So you and I are teammates working on handling the bank now.
Yeah.
Now they become allies instead of prospects. Because if you come up, all right, let me keep going because I'm getting ahead of myself. You need you need to relationship build and sell them on how you want to help them with this problem and that you're qualified to do it. And all you have to say, ladies and gentlemen, is that I know this guy, meaning me, that will help me. He's done it for 21 plus years and done hundreds of deals. And I promise you, you send me a support ticket, I will help to some extent. Now, if I feel like you're infringing upon, like the other day I had an ex-coaching client wanting me to read documents. Now, you got to pay me coaching fees to do that. That's pushing it too far. I mean, I answered about 8 or 10 of it. He's doing a subject to deal. I even called my attorney and said, can you help this guy? And he never even called my attorney. So like, I went too far. But it was because he was an ex-coaching client. And at this point, I told him the other day, he's done. Yeah. You know, he's infringing upon, it's not fair to my coaching clients that are paying me that he's coming in and I'm helping him for free, right? But I go pretty far. Right?
Yeah. You've gone too far, Mr. Hawthorne.
Yes. See, almost 100% of all sellers I talk to have this in common. Now listen to me, because it's taken me a long time to figure this out. And if you notice, as the podcasts go on and the numbers get higher, things are changing a little bit and things are getting easier because the pandemic made me go back to work. So I'm in the trenches with my guys doing this. It's like I'm loading my guys' bullets in their guns so they can shoot it. Right? I might be the general, but I'm in that trench with them.
No, I noticed when I started months ago, like this is different than before. This is harder, and I realized I needed to pull you in a little closer to where I was on the phone. Bill, you got to hear what's going on. You got to help me with what the hell. But that's what happens when things are rough. You call the boss. You need to take a look. This is stuff we're not this unfamiliar territory. Exactly. So like if you sit at your desk any longer, we're all going to be broke. So come on downstairs, and you did that. And you get on the phone, and you're seeing firsthand what I was experiencing, but figuring out what do we do about it?
Right.
That's your job. So it's very, very real.
Exactly. So here's what 100%, I said almost 100% because I don't know if everything's 100%, of all the sellers have in common. They have a goal without a plan, and it's just a dream.
I wish.
I'm looking to get $550,000 for this $450,000 house. How come? Well, because the market's up and everybody else is doing it, so I want to do it too. Right? So every seller we talk to has a goal without a plan, and it's just a freaking dream. I can help their dream by putting a plan there and to help them get what they want. This is the job of your phone conversation. This is how you are going to build a relationship, is help them put a plan there. And if you're listening to me for the second time right now, you know enough. Most people that are listening to me have been trying to do a deal for 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years, and they haven't done a deal yet. They have informationitis. They have way too much information, And they usually give them seminars and too much information. So I'm not worried about how much you know. You need to give them a plan.
Bill, you know what it reminded me of? Probably 2 years ago, we did a podcast where you talked about not what to do, but how. Because a lot of, right? So when you said that, it dawned on me like, wow, if I can find out what they're trying to do, I have to figure then how to do that for them because
Yeah.
they don't know how.
Yeah.
They know what that was like an educational thing. Like you see online, here's what you do. And you go, but how? Oh, buy my book, show you how, or take the course, or how, which is true. But that's what they're doing. They know what they want to do, but they don't know how. And we do. But we got to find out which how.
Yep.
Loan to value.
I'm going to help you that before we leave.
Yeah.
So Rocky said too nice. Thank you, Rocky. All right. So now you're making so now you're making it so the seller will wish to go with you instead of somebody else. It's just reciprocity, meaning you gave them something and they felt like it was valuable and they want to give back. So they'll give you the first shot. They may not sell to you, but they'll give you the first shot.
Well, they're in the jungle. They know they got to get out. And you're telling them you know how to get out. And they'll say, well, I'll trust you as the guide. And that's us. We're the guide to get them out of the situation.
Exactly. Okay. So how do we do all this without a script? How do you make this plan? Here you go. One, you work on their asking price. How much you asking for the property? Oh, $300,000. Now here's the magic. This is different, and I've been talking about this for a month or two now. Right? You have to ask why. The why is the discovery. Now, I'm not going to make a script for you on the whys, and someday I will write up a bunch of why questions for each one of these if it doesn't, if what I'm explaining doesn't work and you need more guidance. But so it goes kind of like this. Let's role play just for about 2 minutes, Peter. So, Peter, how are you today?
Oh, I'm good.
Good. My name is Bill Hawthorne. I'm calling because I see you have a house for sale. Is it still for sale?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, good. You got a couple minutes to chat?
Sure.
Okay, good. How much are you asking for the house?
$300,000.
Okay, so what made you get that price? How did you come up with that?
Well, I know a couple people that sold their houses recently, and I looked online and I saw some of the prices in my neighborhood, what people are asking. So I kind of figured that's ballparking where it should be right now in this market.
Okay, good. So you're pretty confident that that's the right valuation then?
I think so.
You didn't have a professional do it for you, like a realtor or an appraiser or anything like that?
No.
Okay, good. So let me ask you this question. If you were to get $300,000, how much do you think you'd walk away with?
Well, if it was, I'm selling without a realtor, so maybe 290.
Okay, good. All right, so end of role play. So what did Peter just tell me? The house is free and clear. Because he thinks he's going to walk away with $290,000. He thinks it's going to cost him $10,000 to sell.
Maybe it's just diluted.
Right.
Honestly, some people think it's just the real, the
point is the house is free and clear. I didn't have to ask him how much his mortgage was. I just asked him how much you think you're going to walk away with. So let's do it with a different number. Just pick a
low number.
How much you think you're going to walk away with when you sell?
I think I'll walk away with like $75,000.
Okay, good. And what were you planning on doing with that money?
I'm going to put it into a condo.
Okay, good. So we're like, 4 minutes into the conversation, and look how much we learned.
40 seconds.
It's because you asked the right questions. The point is the first bucket you got to go into, or the first fact that you got to figure out, is the price and why they picked the price, because the price is the telltale, right? We did a podcast a long time ago about telltales. Right? The price is a telltale. They picked that price for a reason, and mostly because it's how much money they want to walk away with. So they picked that price because they have to pay their underlying mortgage, their expenses, and all their commissions. Okay. Number two. So once we do that, we're not going to role play all these. Once we do that, I I then say to them, okay, so Peter, for me to give you $300,000, because I know it's worth $300,000, the only way I could do that is to give you monthly payments until it's paid off. Would you consider that?
Mm.
I lately start off with like this. I say, Peter, okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been doing this for 21 plus years. I've done hundreds of transactions. I don't tell you that to be a hotshot. I just tell you that by the time we leave today, you're going to have a plan, and we're in good hands. Okay. And they're like, okay. So then I'll say to them, so here's what I do is I specialize in selling on a rent to own. So I find buyers that can't get qualified for a bank loan, and I let them rent for 2 or 3 years until they qualify for a mortgage. Now, I usually do that because when I purchase, I either go get private money or I get payments from you. Would you be willing to give me monthly payments until we can get the money later? And that strikes up a conversation on the payments.
Sure.
So if you get 3 to 5 no's, no, I don't want payments, no, I don't want payments, no, I don't want payments, then you move on. But you don't just take the first one, because of course they don't want payments. They're asking $300,000. How are they going to get their $75,000 if they don't get $300,000?
That's right.
Okay. Here's the part that's confusing. Okay. You have to find out why they're selling. So in this particular case, Peter told me that he needs $75,000 to go buy a condo. So that's the problem. The problem is the condo. So I didn't do it in a role play, but I'd be like, why do you want to go to a condo? Well, my wife and I are downsizing. Okay, why are you downsizing? Well, because my wife can't handle the stairs anymore. So we want to go to this retirement community because she's been ill, and so you'll find the problem.
Yep.
And it's what I call the discovery stage. We're going to go over that in a minute. So all discovery means is that you're trying to figure out if they're qualified for what you have to offer. It's not whether or not they're going to sell. It's whether or not you can match up one of our 7 offers to them and it will work for them. Exactly. That's what the discovery stage is for. So you're trying to figure that out if you should give it to them or not. So number 2 is payment. Number 3, now you need to get the duration of the transaction, right? Like, for example, Peter might say, I only want cash. I don't want payments. Okay, Peter. So the cash price I can give you, which is our Mayo formula, maximum allowable offer, which is the Mayo formula. In that particular case, what we're going to do is we're going to give them the after renovated value or the market value times 70%. If it's a pretty house, that's your cash number. Yep. So often I'll say to them, well, Peter, if I give you cash, I can't give you 300,000. I can only give you like 220 on a cash deal. I can't do that. Okay, what's the best you can do? Now you're looking for a discount. Okay, so 220 or 240 is what we can pay, right? Yeah. So if he wants 260 or 270 or 275, what we might do is we might say, how long can you give me a mortgage for 1 year? Can you give me a mortgage for 2 years? Can I give you some of the money now? Like maybe you're going to go to the bank and you're going to get a loan for 85%. Will he carry back the other 15%? You see what I mean? This is advanced strategy. This is coaching stuff. But my point is finding out the duration is a big help.
Right. Because the longer he can wait, the more options you have to do the financing, different ways you can do it.
The more choices you can give him to do the deal. Yeah. Right? Then number 4, we talk about the money now, like deposit or cash out. Right? So what you're doing is you know that these 4 things you need is the price, the payment, which, by the way, what if does the payment have to be from your seller? What if we were going to go to the bank and get a loan?
Yeah.
We still need to know what the payment is, right?
Oh, sure.
What if you're going to a hard money lender?
You better know what the payment is. Yeah.
Right? So the payment is the payment. So you need to figure that out. Maybe not while you're on the phone, but you need to figure that out. I mean, if you're paying 12% interest, and I've had deals like this where it's like, I could put the deal together, but the payment's too high because of the hard money.
That's right. And interest is a killer.
Right?
Yep.
in this whole conversation, you need to portray or sell to the seller on, I'm here to work with you, not against you.
Yeah.
And the very last thing is this: always be prepared to respond, not react. Always, which is what you talk about with me. It's like, okay, well, if you want 300,000, then I can only do this, because you always talk about how I juggernaut the
You go back and forth. If they want, more money, you give less payments. If they'll take less money, you maybe give them more payments. But they can't have everything. I mean, it's a two-way street in this world. They just
well,
can't have everything.
they can have everything, but they'll have to keep the house.
Yeah, not into a deal with us.
Yeah,
like, hello, what about
exactly.
me here?
Or anybody for that fact, right? So this is, I think, what you've been saying to me all these years is I'm always prepared to respond, not react. I don't react. I don't do knee-jerk stuff. I just respond.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you want 300,000, I can only pay 1,200 a month. That's a response, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you do this with questions, mostly why they are asking or demanding something. Well, why do you want the 300,000? I asked you that because I expect to get $75,000 to go buy a condo. Now, if we were doing role playing, I would go a little bit further with that, but I because of time, we're already 5 minutes over our time. So
yeah, but in general, you try to help them get into a condo and solve the problem one way or the other.
Because it's a teammate. It's me and the seller, or the seller and I, that are working together to get what they want. And when you go about it that way, it's you stand above everybody else. And if it's not fake, and you're not saying, how are you today? How are you doing today, Peter?
Yeah.
I don't care how you're doing today. You could be like laying in a hospital bed. I don't care. You could be like on top of a mountain. You could be on vacation. I've had that happen. I just talked to somebody a couple of weeks ago. They were on vacation. She was sitting at the pool with her grandkids. How are you today? Oh, I'm on vacation. And right away, you're like, oh, should I not talk to you right now? No, I just kept going because she was willing to talk to me.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So this is all called the discovery stage, which we talked about in the past. Now watch this. You cannot move forward in your offer or ability to help them without being absolutely certain you have all the facts about the deal. The first fact is the problem. This is where most of my coaching clients are missing it. They're trying to convince the seller that they have a solution, and they never figured out the problem. This is no different than a doctor. I wrote that in the, it's right here. A prescription without diagnosis is malpractice.
Should be. Happens all the time. Try that.
So you need the problem. You need to know what the problem is before you start giving solutions. Okay? And you need to have the other four facts, which is price, payment, duration, and the deposit. And that's all conversational. As long as you can guide them, that's the plan they need. They need to sort that stuff out first. They can't sell to anybody until that happens. And the payment and the duration and the deposit have nothing to do with them, so they think. But the truth of the matter is, if they're asking $300,000 for a $250,000 house, that payment is going to affect their buyer. Because all buyers never think of where's the money coming from. They only think about how am I going to get it. They never think of where's the money coming from. So they get ridiculous. Because they don't think of, because one of the things that I have done, and you heard me say this, Pete, so I go through the whole thing with you, and I say, Pete, I have a question for you. If you were looking for a house like I was, would you do the deal you just proposed to me?
Yeah. When they give you like this ridiculous, like I want this, I want that, like, oh, really?
Would you
put
do
them
that?
in your shoes. Yeah. And they go, and then they think, oh, they can't say yes because it's stupid.
And then right after that, I would say, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
Yeah.
Right. All right. So, like I said, a prescription without a diagnosis is malpractice, and that applies to us. So here's my last point, and I'm going to say it, and then we're going to end. Be interested in the seller's problem. Don't be interesting. Don't try to act or try to entertain them or try to keep them interested in you. The way you keep them interested in you is if you're interested in them and their problem. Right? So be interested, not interesting, or entertaining, or show off, or tell them what you know. They don't care. They don't know you. Don't try to impress them with a bunch of seminar talk. Okay? Speak with your sellers, not at them. Speak with them, not at them. And you'll soon see a big difference, and many relationships start to build and income start to raise. So Old School, Tired and Tested said, thank you so much. Excuse me, that's the name of his YouTube channel. Old School, Tired, Tried and Tested. Thank you so much for this live, Bill and Pete. I appreciate both of you for taking the time out to educate us. You're very welcome. I guess he's old school.
Mr. Old School.
I guess he's in our league. He's a boomer, huh?
Oh boy.
All right, Pete. So we're all set. Make sure. So here's the deal. You use what I showed you today or what we talked about today in the link of the description of this podcast. Or if you're on YouTube, it's in the comment section. If you're on Facebook, it's in the comment. Anyways, there's a link below this video or in your description of your podcast. We'll get you a 45-minute free consultation. I'll go over whatever you want to go over. I've listened to your story, whatever. You're not wasting my time. I do them every week. I literally had between 2 and 3 slots a week. So I'm very cautious on you not being a time vampire for me. So it's not a problem. I slot them. It's either you or somebody else. Okay. Every week I do it. And it's just part of my business plan. So the point is if you get a deal, you talk to somebody like this and you don't know what to do, then you can make an appointment with me. You could tell your seller, I have a partner or I have a friend or I have a mentor or I know someone that can help me with this. I'm going to get this information, the price. Don't call me if you don't have that. If you have a deal structure, if you don't have the price, you don't have a payment, you don't have a duration, and you don't have a down payment, at least have answers for those questions. Don't call me because I can't help you with the deal. Okay?
Yeah.
So, but my point is I'm not going to leave you stranded by showing you how to do this and then not being able to help you. So you can go into the link and into the description, get the link, and you can make an appointment and we can talk about it. Okay? We need to go, Peter. We're 12 minutes past the hour. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for all the support. Make sure you leave us a review. Make sure you subscribe to us. Make sure you get part of our group. Go into WhatsApp Messenger and get into the Let's Talk Real Estate group, and we'll be there. And we can help you there as well. All right. Over and out. Have a good week.